It's really great that UWC Council approved the establishment of our new centre, Centre for African FinTech Innovation and Law. There were several motivations for the start of the centre, and that is something that I worked so hard on to make sure that it's something that expands beyond law, that it's a multidisciplinary centre, and that it can have a real impact on our continent. And there were a few factors that we took into account that motivated the establishment of the centre. The growing use of technology on the continent, the fact that in African Union Agenda 2063, there is a digital transformation strategy which has not yet been fully implemented, the fact that FinTech itself is growing at a tremendous pace, that South Africa is one of the 4 FinTech hubs on the continent, with Nigeria, Kenya, and Egypt, which is interestingly enough on southern, western, eastern, and the northern part, and expanding in other countries. And we realize that if we only have a South African lens when it comes to FinTech, but also the broader innovation, that there would be something that one would miss in terms of your societal impact. The other motivation was that South Africa was recently grey-listed and we weren't the only one. So we looked at broader societal or global challenges and how through the centre we could also address those challenges. Whether we're talking about anti-money laundering, or as we call it, AML, CFT, CPF, proliferation financing, whether we are talking about other sustainability issues of the connection between innovation, FinTech, and issues such as migration, climate change, trade, economic development, gender. All of those actually come together quite beautifully and presents, not only from a research perspective, wonderful opportunities to make a big difference and to have that societal impact. And therefore the theoretical underpinning or the scholarly framing of the centre is in the UWC Scholarship of Engagement for Societal Impact. So that the work, whether we are doing our scholarly work, there must be a link between policy, regulation, and working with those within the field. So in the FinTech space, for example, we are not only engaging with academics, it's those within the professions, those within the sector, financial sector in the broader sense, the regulators themselves, the supervisors, such for example as in South Africa you have the FIC, which is the Financial Intelligence Center. All of those within the ecosystem, there are competition issues, and then working with the fintechs and the startups from an entrepreneurial innovation perspective. What also is exciting about the center is because it might be situated in the Faculty of Law, and it is multidisciplinary, not only interdisciplinary in law, but multidisciplinary, which means that if you approach something from a problem-solving perspective, the chances are, we know from research, that you're actually going to get a better outcome when you have people from such multitude of disciplines together. And why, maybe a last thought on why Africa. There's a growing need for the development of talent and that will be one of the areas that we will focus on. From a postgrad perspective, we will be launching or starting our accredited postgraduate diploma in FinTech law and regulation, the only of its kind on the continent, and it will be fully online. And we already have a large cohort. In my cohort, I have about 22 masters, predominantly PhD students. A lot of them have already completed and are in the process of completing 4 of them this year. And so we're building that capacity, in a sense, on the continent by also engaging with those countries, at least for a start, that are not only the top 4, but the top 6 or 7. And then we can add Tanzania and Ghana, for example. And then number 5 is Rwanda, and I have a very personal relationship there. And Ethiopia as well, if we make it 8. So the future is bright. Things are changing as we're speaking, and this is one of those very exciting spaces to be at. UWC is leading the way here. There's no such center, and a combination of those disciplines in South Africa or on the continent. There's a similar center in the University of East London in the UK, and we have already reached out to our global partners and our African partners to make sure that we can have a big societal impact from the position of those involved within the Center for African FinTech, Innovation and Law. So watch this space.